In Taiwan, there was this YouTuber named Xiao Yu. He was a huge deal, a household name with 1 million subscribers, famous for his prank videos. But in 2021, that fame took a really sinister turn. He wasn't just an internet star anymore, he was the mastermind behind a criminal empire, using some pretty sophisticated AI to digitally violate over 100 women, all for profit. So let's break down how this digital celebrity became a high-tech criminal. And this, right here, really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? On one side, you've got this massive public following, and on the other, the hidden, absolutely devastating toll of his actions. This wasn't just some guy misusing technology. This was a calculated campaign of abuse that would force an entire country to wake up and confront the dark side of AI. So, what did this operation actually look like? Well, you can forget any image of some lone hacker in a basement. No. We're talking about a sophisticated 24/7 digital factory, one that was built for a single purpose: the mass production of non-consensual deepfake pornography. His primary weapon was this powerful, open-source software called Deepfake Lab. And the ammunition? Well, that was terrifyingly easy to find. Countless photos and videos of his targets. We're talking politicians, celebrities, other influencers, all just scraped directly from their public social media pages. He would then feed this into the AI to digitally graph their faces onto pornographic material. Now, this slide is really fascinating because it shows you this was not a low-budget crime. He invested almost $10,000 in 2 high-end workstations, and each one was armed with a top-of-the-line RTX 3090 graphics card. And get this was back in 2021, right at the peak of that insane global GPU shortage, fueled by crypto mining. These cards were incredibly expensive and almost impossible to find. And this number? It just shows the ruthless efficiency we're talking about. With his 2 AI factories churning away around the clock, he basically industrialized the entire process. He could pick a new target, train the AI on her face, generate a bunch of videos, and then release them to his paying customers, on average, every 3.7 days. So let's look at how he turned this digital factory into an incredibly lucrative and frankly cruel business model. See, this wasn't just about making and selling fake videos, it was about creating a whole marketplace for digital violence. He built an entire ecosystem of abuse. He dropped teaser clips on public channels to lure people in, then offer these tiered memberships on a private Telegram group. But maybe the most twisted part of this whole thing was what prosecutors later called a hunting-style crime. He actually gamified the violation, letting his paying members vote on which woman should be his next victim. And what was the result of this grim business model? Well, in just over a year, Xiaoyu raked in over $400,000, all of it deposited right into his bank account. Let's really put that into perspective. This chart compares his initial hardware investment to his total profit. That is a staggering 4,360% return on investment. This wasn't some side hustle. This was a criminal enterprise operating at a scale that would make a lot of legitimate startups jealous. Okay, so you have a really clear crime, a huge number of victims, and a blatant financial trail. You'd think the legal outcome would be pretty straightforward, right? Well, this is where the story takes a deeply controversial turn, and it ends up revealing some huge gaps in the law. First, and we just can't forget this, is the human cost. 119 women were identified as victims, and for them, the damage is permanent. These videos, once they're out there, can never be fully scrubbed from the dark corners of the internet. That creates a lifetime of psychological harm. The initial verdict from the district court came down, a sentence of 5 years and 6 months. But here's the kicker, the part where the system completely failed. Under the law at the time, he could potentially avoid serving a single day in prison. And this was all possible because of a legal provision called commutable to a fine. Now, this is a feature in Taiwanese law that's meant to be a form of mercy, for minor nonviolent crimes. But in this case, it became a potential get-out-of-jail-free card for a criminal who had victimized over 100 people. As you can imagine, prosecutors were absolutely outraged. They argued that letting this guy just pay his way out of jail would send a horrifying message to everyone. Their point was simple. This ruling basically tells society that, hey, this is a profitable criminal business. And here is the absurd, infuriating math.
He had made over $418,000 from his crimes. The fine to avoid his entire prison sentence, around $62,000. Think about that. The system was about to let a criminal pay a tiny fraction of his earnings as a fine and just walk away with over $350,000 in pure profit. Well, that initial verdict sparked a massive public outcry, and prosecutors immediately appealed. This pushed the case to a second trial at the High Court, and this is where the scales of justice finally started to rebalance. The High Court actually agreed with the prosecution and with the public. They reversed the most controversial part of that first ruling, and they declared that 5 years of his sentence were non-commutable. The loophole was closed. Xiao Yu was going to prison. And the court didn't stop there. It began a total financial clawback to make sure that crime did not pay. Police seized over $142,000 in cash from his home. His luxury Mercedes-Benz was taken and auctioned off for another $61,000. And on top of that, the court placed a lien on him for the remaining $232,000, which means the state is going to pursue any money he ever makes until every last illicit dollar is recovered. But the true legacy of this case, it goes far beyond just one man's prison sentence and his financial ruin. This was a wake-up call that forced an entire country's legal system to basically hit the fast-forward button and catch up to the 21st century. This case led directly to the creation of what's now known as the Xiao Yu Clause. These were brand new, very specific amendments to Taiwan's criminal code. They made creating or distributing deepfake sexual imagery a distinct and very serious crime, one that's punishable by up to 7 years in prison. It closed the very loopholes that he had so brazenly exploited. Ultimately, the story of Taiwan's deepfake king is a warning to all of us, all over the world. It shows the terrifying speed at which technology can just blow past our ethical and legal frameworks. And it leaves all of us with a really critical question for our time. As AI continues to accelerate, can our laws ever really hope to keep up?